My name is Lauren, and I was the first child my mom had while she was still trying to figure things out in her life. She married young, right after finishing high school, to my dad, Scott. Love was their priority over money, something that didn't work out well in the long run. While I was still a kid, my mom met Kyle, a man who had plenty of money and an elegant car. She left my dad, took me with her, and only looked back to collect the alimony checks. Kyle initially seemed friendly. He brought me treats and let me play in his extravagant office filled with shiny objects. But my mom started changing around him, always looking at me as if I reminded her of a past life she wanted to forget. One evening, while I was supposed to be watching TV, I overheard them in the kitchen. My mom's voice was sharp. She's too much like Scott, always questioning, always looking at me like he used to. I didn't grasp her words fully back then, but they hurt. I loved my dad, no matter how small his apartment was on the other side of town. Time spent with him was a joy, even if it meant just playing in the park or sharing cheap pizza. My mom's words lingered in my mind, and over time, she became increasingly critical. "Can't you do anything right?" she'd say when I tried to help at home, or even while doing my schoolwork. In contrast, my dad encouraged me. "You're doing great, Lauren," he'd say whenever I showed him my grades or artwork. "Don't ever let anyone convince you otherwise." Life at my mom and Kyle's became more intense when I started school. My mom constantly emphasized appearances, insisted I dress in a certain way, and befriended the right kind of kids. "Why can't you dress like Karen's daughter? Look at her," she'd remark, showing me a party picture where I wasn't invited. One incident, where I was scolded for muddying the floor, led me to retort, "At least Dad doesn't yell about some dirt." Before I knew it, her hand struck my cheek, fast and stinging, and she barked, "Don't talk about your father like that." Her breath mixed with anger and coffee close to my face. Holding back tears, just like Dad taught me, I promised myself never to let her see me cry. When Mom revealed she was pregnant, the household felt different, like a major change was coming, not necessarily in a good way. She had that pregnancy glow, but it didn't seem aimed at me. "I'm having Kyle's baby," she'd beam. "It's going to be perfect," rubbing her belly while Kyle looked proud, like he'd won a trophy. Kyle, always trying to be charming, added, "We'll need to redo the guest room. Make it fit for a little princess." My heart sank. They were talking about my room, my little space in their world. "What about my room?" I asked, trying to steady my voice. Mom's smile turned tight as she replied, "You can move into the smaller room, Lauren. It's only fair. The baby will need the space." The finality in fair closed any room for debate, so I moved, packing up my things into the smallest chamber, hardly more than a closet. Time moved on, and soon Mary was born, the center of all conversation. "Isn't she just the most beautiful baby ever?" Mom would gush to friends over the phone, cradling Mary as if she was the most valuable treasure. I tried to chime in, "Yeah, she's cute," which was an understatement because Mary was absolutely adorable, and from the moment I laid eyes on her, I was smitten. I wanted to be involved, to be a good big sister. One afternoon, as Mom was busy in the kitchen, I attempted to sneak into Mary's room, peeking over the crib at my gurgling sister. "Hi, Mary," I whispered, reaching gently with a finger. But Mom heard and was suddenly at the door, her voice like a piercing blade. "What are you doing, Lauren?" "I told you to ask before going into her room." "I just wanted to see her," I protested, the familiar sting of tears forming. But with Dad's different approach during my visits, over pizza at our favorite joint, I finally opened up. Mom always seems tense whenever I'm around Mary. "It's as if she fears I'll somehow harm her," I confided to Dad. He listened thoughtfully before speaking. "You know, Lauren, some people struggle to distribute affection. They behave as though there's a limited amount to give away. But don't forget, you have a generous heart, and your mom's actions shouldn't make you feel otherwise," he assured me. These words offered some comfort, yet the gap between Mom and me just widened when I returned to her house. Even my efforts to share stories about school or friends seemed futile, as her attention was always divided, partly focused on my words and partly on Mary. One day, I arrived home with a school award, a second-place certificate from the science fair. Overflowing with excitement, I held it as if it were my ticket to earning their approval. "Look, Mom, I won this," I announced, presenting it to her while she fed Mary. "That's nice, dear," she replied without meeting my eyes. "Put it on the fridge or something." Or something, I repeated to myself, the words echoing emptily. Placing the certificate on the fridge slightly askew, I stepped back. To them, it was just another sheet of paper, just another day overshadowed by Mary. By the time I reached high school, things were pretty strained at home. Between Mom's frosty demeanor and Kyle's apathy, I felt more like an outsider than part of the family. Then came the momentous decision. Mom determined it was best for me to live with Dad permanently. The evening she shared the news, we were having dinner. It was a rare occurrence, just her and me at the table. Kyle was delayed by work, and Mary was already asleep. "Lauren, we need to discuss your future," Mom began, nudging her food listlessly. Her voice lacked warmth, carrying a cold, business-like tone that immediately put me on edge. "What about it?" I asked, trying for nonchalance though my heart raced. "We've talked it over and believe moving in with your father is best. With a new baby coming, things are, well, complicated here," she explained. Almost choking on my water, I questioned, "Move in with Dad?"
But why?
"I thought everything was fine here." Sighing, she said, "Look, Lauren, you're not a child anymore.
You need your own space.
And we can't provide that here with the new addition. It's crowded, and frankly, the financial weight is more than we anticipated. This is better for everyone." Pushing my plate aside, I lost my appetite. "And school? My friends?" I protested. "You can attend a new school, make new friends," she suggested, as if it were that easy to replace my life. It felt as though I had to erase my past and start anew. The following weeks blurred as I packed my belongings, my entire world reduced to boxes filled with clothes, books, and cherished mementos. Kyle barely bid farewell, and Mary, too young to grasp the situation, offered a bewildered hug. Moving day proved challenging. Dad lived across town in a modest apartment. Though neat, it was overflowing with memories halted since Mom left. He awaited me with open arms and a concerned smile. The apartment differed vastly from the house where I grew up, with my new room being half the size of my old one, its walls needing paint, and the window offering a view of a brick wall. But it was serene, and Dad earnestly tried to make it feel like home. The first day at my new school was tough. As I navigated the bustling corridors, I sensed the stares and heard whispers. "That's the new girl," they remarked, as if I were an oddity. In class, I kept to myself, doodling in my notebook to drown out the murmurs. As soon as the bell rang, I hurried out, not wanting to linger. At home, Dad noticed my muted demeanor. "How's school?" he inquired, maintaining a light tone. "It's fine," I fibbed, shrugging off my coat and setting my bag by the door. "If it gets hard, let me know, okay? We're in this together. You're not alone, Lauren." His comforting words resonated. Yet, the deep-seated loneliness was undeniable, not just from missing my previous friends or the spacious house, but from feeling unwanted, as if I'd been cast aside due to being a burden. Adjusting to life with Dad wasn't simple, but I soon realized that unless I pulled myself together, things would worsen. One morning, as I surveyed my cramped room, I resolved that it was time to take control of my life. No one else would do it for me. Under my breath, I muttered a few words, and Dad noticed an immediate change in me one morning at breakfast. He looked up from his coffee and commented, "You're looking more determined these days, Lauren. What's going on in your mind?" Stirring my cereal, I pondered on how to express my thoughts. "I want to make something of myself, Dad. I don't want to end up stuck, you know?" He nodded, with a serious expression crossing his face. "I hear you, kiddo. So, what's the plan?" Taking a deep breath, I declared more to convince myself. "That scholarship, the big one for top students. I'm going to get it." Dad's encouraging smile was all I needed to keep going. "Just let me know what you need from me," he said. School was challenging, with countless hours spent catching up, and even longer evenings buried in books. My teachers noticed the change in my efforts. Even the toughest ones seemed to appreciate how hard I was working. Mr. Jeremy, my math teacher, kept me after class one day, saying, "Lauren, your work has improved a lot. What's driving this?" To his query, I bluntly replied, "I need that scholarship. I got plans, and they don't include being stuck here forever." Mr. Jeremy studied me for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Well, keep at it, and let me know if you need extra help. I'm here for you." Making new friends wasn't easy, but I managed to find a couple of people who didn't mind that I was so focused on my goals. During lunch, I'd sit with Linda and Peter, two friends who weren't exactly popular, but knew how to laugh. "So, Lauren, you're like a library ninja now, huh?" Peter joked one day, nudging me as we settled with our trays. I cracked a smile. "Yeah, got to be stealthy if I want to snag the best study spots." Linda chimed in, her voice soft but sincere. "It's cool what you're doing, Lauren. Most wouldn't bother." Months passed, and the pressure grew as application deadlines loomed. Dad remained my rock, always there with a hot meal and a listening ear whenever the stress was overwhelming. The day I received the scholarship letter, my hands shook as I tore it open. Dad stood beside me, holding his breath. As I scanned the letter and understood the words, I cheered so loudly the neighbors might have heard. "I got it, Dad. I got it," I shouted, waving the letter like a flag of victory. Dad swept me up in a big hug, laughing and cheering along with me. "I knew it. I knew you could do it." A few months later, as I packed my things for college, I felt ready. The future was bright, and, for the first time, it felt truly mine. I was leaving but taking all these lessons, all this love and wisdom earned the hard way with me. After graduating with honors and establishing a solid career, I finally felt like I was on stable ground. I was 25, doing well at my job, and had just started dating a great guy from work named Eric, who had been nothing but supportive. Then, out of the blue, my mom called. We hadn't spoken much since I moved out, but suddenly here she was, asking, no more like telling me something. "Lauren, your sister Mary is going to college in your city. We've paid her tuition, and we think it would be best if she stayed with you," Mom said, making it clear this wasn't just a suggestion. I hesitated, memories of our strained relationship running through my mind, but I wanted to believe things could be different this time.
"Okay, Mom. I'll help Mary out."
"It might be nice to reconnect," I said, trying to keep any doubts out of my voice. Mary moved in 2 weeks later, and it was clear right away that we were very different. She was as stunning as ever, completely focused on her looks and living a high-maintenance lifestyle. She brought with her a suitcase full of expectations and a personality that anticipated them to be met. "Can you make sure we have almond milk and kale? I'm on a special diet," Mary said casually on her first evening, checking herself out in the mirror. "Sure, I'll add them to the grocery list," I replied, trying to be accommodating, but living with Mary turned out to be tougher than expected. She partied like there was no tomorrow, often coming home at dawn, her carefree laughter echoing through the apartment, while I lay awake worrying about work meetings and presentations. One afternoon, Eric came over while Mary was getting ready for another night out. I noticed how she smiled at him, just a bit too sweetly and for a tad too long. After she left, Eric spoke up. "Lauren, I think Mary's got the—" Lauren's frustration had reached its peak when she learned from Eric that Mary had been crossing limits with flirtatious behavior. Feeling a rush of anger and embarrassment, Lauren thanked Eric and decided it was time to confront her sister. Approaching Mary, Lauren tried to set boundaries, but Mary laughed casually, dismissing the matter. "Oh, come on, Lauren. I'm just being nice. Is it my fault if he finds me attractive?" Mary said mockingly, adding, "Isn't that what your fiancé is meant to do?" Firmly, Lauren told Mary she needed to respect her relationship. But Mary's laughter turned cold and she declared, "I always get what I want, and I'm used to it." That was the breaking point for Lauren. She couldn't keep living in a constant state of defense against her own sister. "Mary, this isn't working. You have to find another place to live," Lauren said decidedly, making it clear her decision was final. Furious, Mary slammed the door on her way out. Not long after, Lauren's phone rang. It was their mom, her voice cold and sharp. "Lauren, you're just jealous. You can't stand to see your sister happy, can you?" she accused. Lauren tried to explain she only wanted respect, but her words fell on deaf ears. Communication between her and Mary dwindled. And through the grapevine, Lauren heard Mary had quit college, drifting through social circles by charm alone. Meanwhile, Lauren chose to focus on her life, her work, and her relationship with Eric. 3 years passed, filled with progress and growth, until news arrived of Mary's engagement to a wealthy man. Curiosity piqued, Lauren called home to congratulate them, only to be met with her mother's chilling indifference. "Don't bother coming to the wedding. It's not for the likes of you," her mother spat, the pain in her words cutting deep. Though wounded, Lauren resolved not to let it bring her down. Reports later said Mary's wedding was lavish, extravagant, and full of celebrity guests. Time moved on, and so did Lauren's life. Eric proposed, and she found joy in planning their intimate, heartfelt wedding. Sharing the news with her dad, she was lifted by his genuine happiness. "Lauren, that's marvelous. Of course I'll be there," he exclaimed. Buoyed by this, she made one more attempt to connect with her mom. Calling her with hope, Lauren invited her mother to the wedding but was met with a frosty refusal. "No, I'm not partaking in any humble gatherings of nobodies." Heart-aching, Lauren accepted the rift between them might never heal. Despite this, her wedding day was a joyous affair surrounded by love and warmth, a contrast to the ostentation of Mary's event. They celebrated with laughter, dance, and the company of those who cherished them truly. Life unfolded beautifully with the announcement of their first child. But an ordinary afternoon phone call from her mom shattered the peace. "Lauren, you must help us. We're in dire straits," her mother pleaded without even a greeting. "What's happened, Mom?" Lauren inquired, a part of her dreading the answer. "Kyle's business collapsed. We mortgaged everything for Mary's wedding, and now it's all gone. Her marriage ended badly. Her husband is demanding reparations for her infidelity," her mother revealed, panic threading her speech. Taking a steadying breath, Lauren prepared to confront the unraveling chaos. "Lauren, are you suggesting that we need a place to stay and are coming to your house?" She declared this like it was the simplest solution. Her request, or rather demand, hit me with full force. "No, Mom, you can't just decide to move in with us. It doesn't work that way," I protested. "Lauren, you owe us after everything we've done for you," she retorted sharply, her voice commanding and cutting, touching a nerve.
Mom?"
I replied. "Remember how you were when I needed you the most? You pushed me away, prioritized everything over me, and now expect me to simply welcome you." My voice rose. "You're being selfish, Lauren. Where is your family spirit?" she accused. "I am your mother, and you never let me forget it, but being a mother doesn't mean control and demands." I shot back, my patience thin. Her anger was evident even through the phone. "You'll regret this, Lauren. I might even take you to court to get what's rightfully mine." I couldn't help but laugh, more from disbelief. "Go ahead," I challenged. "Remember, Dad was my guardian when you kicked me out. How will you explain that your daughter won't let you live off her after you cast her away?" There was a pause, and I could almost hear her think. "This isn't over, Lauren," she whispered before hanging up. Life after the last call felt like a new beginning. Eric and I busied ourselves preparing the nursery, choosing paint colors, assembling the crib, and navigating the ups and downs of pregnancy. It was a bright Friday morning, and I was folding freshly purchased baby clothes into the dresser. Eric was in the corner, drilling something, the electric screwdriver buzzing. He paused, wiping his brow, and smiled at me. "Need any help over there, Lauren?" he asked. "I've got it, thanks, just thinking about everything." "It's really happening, huh?" "It really is. We're going to be parents, Lauren." His voice was filled with awe and nerves. Then, an unexpected knock at the door. Who could it be this early? Eric went to check while I continued organizing. I heard voices, and Eric called out, "Lauren, it's for you." Surprised, I walked into the living room to find Dad standing there grinning, holding a teddy bear. "Surprise," he announced. "Dad, what are you doing here?" Unable to hide my delight, I hugged him tightly. I wanted to check on my favorite daughter and bring something for my future grandchild. He handed me the soft, cuddly teddy bear. "Thank you, Dad. Your presence means the world to me," I said, teary-eyed. We sat down, Dad observing the half-assembled baby furniture and stacks of baby books. "You're almost ready, it seems." "We're trying." "It's a lot, but we're excited," I answered. Then, hesitating, I confided, "Dad, I had another call with Mom. It didn't go well." Dad's face grew serious. "I heard from your mom. She wasn't pleased." "Was she?" "No, Dad, she wasn't. But I stood my ground, for myself, for Eric, for the baby. We need peace," I asserted. The day was filled with stories. Dad sharing funny yet unsolicited parenting advice, cherishing our time together. It was one of those days I'd remember fondly. As the sun set, painting skies in orange and pink, Eric, Dad, and I sat on the porch, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves. Eric put his arm around me, and I leaned in. Despite everything with Mom and all the drama, I felt incredibly lucky. We have each other and are about to embark on this amazing new chapter. "I sense it's going to be great," I said. Eric kissed my head. "It will be. We've got this, Lauren." As night fell and Dad said his goodbyes, I felt ready and content. The challenges with Mom and uncertainties had been tough, but brought me to this moment surrounded by love and support.